Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, traders. This is the man upstairs signing in, and it's Sunday, the 29th of March, and the time is approximately 6:39 p.m. The market is about to open. Today what we're going to go over is candles. I'm looking at here the Euro JPY, and again, like I say, it's Sunday. The market hasn't opened, so these are not live candles at all. As you can see, the market is frozen. This is a candle going south. All right, it was drawn from this point to this point. All right, now for the point of example here, I'm using the day chart, and I'm going to teach you right now how we actually not how we use the trend lines, but how they're drawn, and how they're drawn the way they're drawn. There's several ways of drawing trend lines, but I use the one that the chief teaches through MTI, and basically it's the if you're going on a downtrend, you use all the highest highs, all right, and then if you're going to draw an uptrend, you're going to draw just from the lowest lows, okay, from the lowest low to the lowest low. So I'm going to zoom in on so that you can sort of see what I mean by these trend lines. Now each point has it's called a pivot, all right, and this point here was the lowest low, and to the lowest low, I'm talking about the pink trend line now, all right, and then it extends into the future. The white trend line here goes from this point here to this point here, and then it extends forth into the future. This blue trend line goes from this point here to this point here, not to be confused with the crossing of this point here, because otherwise you could say from this point to this point there'd be a trend line, but then this would be a trend line bounce. All right, and you can even see it. That trend line right there from this point to this point does not cross, but in fact is actually connecting one point to the other point, and then literally in the future, somewhere in the future, this wick became a bounce off that trend line. Now here presently, this is the day of course, but this trend line here, the little white trend line, was broken from this point to this point, and then this red engulfish bearish candle broke it, and now we're heading south. Could be heading south. So here in the 4 hour, we have all the exact same points, you know, going back basically almost 2 months, and then we have a bounce here, we have a bounce here, we have a bounce here, which is going to be sort of impressive in the 1 hour because of where it actually lands, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then why the support and the resistance based off the way that we draw the trend lines in this manner is because we don't allow the trend lines to move unless they're broken. And so I'm going to define why and how they're broken right now. Here in the 1 hour, that exact same move that you see in the 4 hour, you would have said, okay, well, when you had this trend line here that you drew 2 weeks back, you had a break. Okay, so we didn't move it, kept going. Look at that. It's almost, you could draw a line straight through here, and that would be a straight line. Yeah, it doesn't look like a straight line, but you can sort of get the gist of it. And then so it kept going, and you could expand on this. You know, this point here is basically kind of a straight line. Yet then, this trend line was drawn way back here 2 weeks ago, and more than 2 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, and then boom, trend line bounce. That is to the T. I better come back here and zoom in on this. You see that this trend line, which is to the T, was based off this point and this point here. All right. So I'm basically gonna change the color so that you see how this works in the future. And so there you go. This trend line, which was drawn basically 6 weeks ago, has a bounce here. Right. That's important because now what we're going to be looking at, if there's other ranges, like for we'd say that this is our previous level of support now becoming previous resistance here, all this here was resistance that now is becoming support. Then we want to look and see in the future whether or not this is actually candle formations that are going to allow us to take not only the candle formation, but the fact that it's actually bouncing off a previous point of support or resistance at the trend line. And sure enough, it looks like possible tweezer tops or double bottoms, which will be confirmed by this large engulfish bullish, which would then take us north. Okay, and the market just opened, or no, I guess not. Sorry, it didn't open, but it will start here in a little bit. And then we would be going north. So I'm assuming that in this instance, because of the way that the market closed on Friday, we are going to be going north. Uh, and so that's how we. I mean, I'm going to explain how we trade this. I'm going to go do basically 3 lessons. The lesson today, which is basically how to draw trend lines, and we'll expand that on the second lesson. But then the third lesson, the second lesson is going to be on actually how to place the trades based off the trend lines going south and based on the trend lines going north, and then a review of how to actually draw them. And then the third lesson will actually be how to actually use that information to be able to not only correctly assume where the price is going to be headed, but how to incorporate the ABCs with your trend lines. That way you know how to place a trade. Now the second series in the actual trade ensemble pre-basics course is going to be another set of 3, and that is going to be support and resistance. The first one is going to be just how to use support and resistance and where you draw support and resistance. The second one will be based on the actual trading concepts that you use using support and resistance. And then the third one is going to incorporate how to use convergences of trend lines, which you at that point you would already know, in combination with the ABCs, the ABCDs, in order to be able to make a trade off your support and resistance, such as what we have in front of us here. Okay, this would be a perfect example of lesson 6. And lesson 7, 8, and 9 are going to be how to combine candle formations, such as we have possible tweezer bottoms here, which would then take you north. You don't have to worry about memorizing all this stuff. We'll basically just go over what candles are, how to draw candles, what candles are. We're going to be talking about both in the beginning, basically morning stars or evening stars. This is an evening star here, or morning stars. We see a morning star here and a morning star here, and a morning star here and a morning star here, and then you go north, or evening star, here. This is a sunburst, which would be down, take you down, hardcore, and all that stuff. In the lesson 8, we'll be talking about basically engulfish bearish and engulfish bullish. Engulfish bullish here, we have an engulfish bearish here and here, and here as well. And then here also is an engulfish bearish. And then the lesson 9 will combine all of them: trend lines, support and resistance, and then your directional component, which actually determines your time of day, whether it's a day chart, a 4-hour chart, a 1-hour chart, or a 15-minute chart. Usually we use the 15-minute chart to actually execute the trades. Alright, if you can hold it in your head, you can hold it in your hand, have a purpose, a big purpose, one that excites you and scares you all at the same time. Make it large enough to keep you excited and scared all at the same time. And basically this is the man upstairs telling you to make it happen.